Yo, what is going on, you guys? Welcome back to part 4 to my Marvel Spider-Man 2 pre-write. And I just want to clear something up before we do get into this. I made a slight mistake in the last part in that MJ already finds out about Harry being ill in the first game, which I totally forgot about when writing for these videos. However, this does not change the story at all, as instead of MJ finding out Harry was ill, she would this time find out that the symbiote was what was keeping Harry alive, as no one really knew of its existence and what it was really capable of. The knowledge of Harry being sick doesn't change the shock, horror and desperation MJ and Miles would have felt after the end of the last part. But with that being said and cleared up and fixed, let's move on to part 4. Venom is on the loose. Norman is in chaos. After everything that has happened with him resigning as the mayor, Oscorp under media and political threat, and now his son is a monster. This symbiote engulfs Harry as he escapes from Oscorp. Norman is disarrayed by this and calls on Sable to help him track down Venom as he moves across New York. Sable will be out on full force, and just like the last game, there will become groups of soldiers that you have to take down in the streets. However, the caveat is that they will only attack Peter, but they won't attack Miles. This is because Peter is wanted for an arrest after taking the symbiote. So if you're playing as Peter, then Sable will attack you, and if you're playing as Miles, then they will work with you. This is something that contrasts the last game, and I think something that puts a little bit of a spin on it, rather than Sable just being against you all the time. We will have a couple of slow scenes just before the final act kicks into full swing. Peter will apologise to MJ, saying that he's sorry that he treated her badly. MJ is pretty miffed off but says that it's fine. The suit was controlling you, it was alive. They have a discussion about Harry and how the suit was the thing that was keeping him alive all this time. Peter says that he feels so sick, he can't believe he took away Harry's only chance of survival. Just as Peter held himself accountable for what happened with Dr. Connors, he will also do the same with this. However, this time, he won't let his emotions get the better of him and make mistakes. All of this is his fault, and he won't let himself be led down a dark path again, and thus Peter's arc in this game is all but complete. He's learned. The darkness inside of him needs to be controlled. Jealousy, envy, the feeling of a lack of control, all emphasized by the symbiote. We get a scene with Peter and Miles. Peter is apologizing to Miles just like he did to MJ. Miles doesn't take it well as MJ did though. Miles says that he promised he wouldn't go down this dark path, but he did. Peter holds his head down knowing he was in the wrong. Miles holds his head down too, but just swings off into the night. Peter knows Miles is right, and thus Peter's actions has led to another consequence. But let's cut back to the main story, shall we? This next part of the game will be where it gets freaky and insane. We are going to introduce an idea that I really loved from the Spider-Man Web of Shadows game, which is Symbiote City. I love the idea and I feel like it would work really well in this game. We've had the city being encompassed with the chemicals in the first game and all of the destruction and all of the Rikers inmates coming out. In Miles' game we were given a wintry setting, and in this game we can experience something new with Symbiote City. Since all the games have relatively the same map, with a possibility of the second game having a few expansions, Symbiote City will be a nice addition to keep things interesting. Basically, the next part of the game will mostly be playing as Peter, as this is where Miles will take a little bit of a back step. As Peter, we're going to try and fix our reputation, as at this point it's at its lowest when it matters most. Spider-Man has to be there to save the day, and he has to prove himself once again. We will start to hear rumours and reports about a monstrous figure roaming the city streets. MJ will go on another stakeout mission and find that Sable are trying to cover up the fact that the symbiote is still out there. MJ thinks to herself that this could be Harry. Harry could be out there being controlled by that thing. After all, it was meant to save him, but as demonstrated with Peter, it can turn you into something darker. And since he's weak, frail and ill, he doesn't have the same mental and physical willpower that Peter did to repress the symbiote. However, the symbiote is angry, he wants revenge. Spider-Man ditched him and now he's using Harry's body to go after him. We will get our first encounter with Venom, and Spider-Man will be completely outmatched. Venom will have hunted Spider-Man down, and this mission will almost play out with a horror vibe, as Venom will attack you randomly from the shadows. And since Venom renders Spider-Man's spider sense useless, this mission will be about survival. Peter will be trying to break through to Harry inside the symbiote, saying don't listen to Venom, but it won't work. Venom will completely outmatch the player and Spider-Man will lose. After we manage to escape, this is where the Symbiote City comes into play. the symbiote will end up reproducing. And yes, I know what you're saying, this is how Carnage is born. However, for Symbiote City to work, Carnage in this canon technically won't be the offspring of Venom. The way the symbiote will work in this game is that all the offsprings will be the same as Venom. Yes, I know we're changing a few things around, but this is how it worked in Spider-Man Web of Shadows, and that's how they made the Symbiote City work there, so that's how we're making it work here. Venom will be sending groups of symbiotes to take over random civilians in his conquest to defeat and get revenge on Spider-Man. Along with Sable Guards, lingering groups of people who work for Kraven and Tombstone, we will now get groups of symbiotes that will be around the city, taking over innocent civilians. These type of street missions will vary in style and difficulty. Some of them will be just your ordinary beat 'em up, where you will have to take out a bunch of people who have been taken over by the symbiote. And another will be where you have to save someone from being attacked by a symbiote. This could require all types of button combinations and gameplay mechanics that allow you to stop someone being taken over by a symbiote and then saving them and putting them to safety. After quite a while with Peter, we will be reintroduced to Miles Morales as Peter's attempts to keep the symbiotes under control comes to a grinding halt. Similar to the first game, this is now a city-wide crisis. After losing control, we get a scene with Peter and Miles where Peter says that they need to put aside their differences for the greater good. This will be the first scene we get between the two after they fell out previously. Peter will say to Miles that the people of New York need us, and that's what being Spider-Man is about. Miles decides to put aside his grudges and they both work together. Peter will say to Miles that he knows he's in the wrong, but what's happening right now is bigger than both of them. There will be plans for a citywide evacuation as the symbiote and Venom run rampant with both the Spider-Men at the helm of it all. Feast will play a big part in the city evacuation as they will be providing food, shelter, water and transport for those who don't have any. Peter and Miles will decide they will split up, Miles will help the evacuation and Peter will hunt down Venom. After everything they've been through, Miles tells Peter good luck and to bring Harry home. Peter says that he will, and he says to Miles good luck as well. They both swing off, and this will be the last time they see each other before the end of the game. One mission we will embark on as Miles will be to stop some symbiotes that are attacking Feast trucks, and we will have to stop them before they break in and take over the people inside. We will get a few missions where we will also be working with Sable as Miles to help detain some of the symbiotes and take some down. Miles and Sable will become quite acquainted. They will have a funny good cop bad cop relationship for the majority of the third act of the game, which will be quite a cool dynamic to explore. After Miles helps with the citywide evacuation, him and Sable will focus on trying to find a cure or some way to return the civilians to the norm. Miles will mention how he has a Venom blast since they seem to deter from electrical impulses. Sable says it's a good idea, but they can't recreate that on a large scale. Sable decides that they need to confront Norman directly. We will then get a scene where Sable and Miles confront Norman, saying he has to stop this madness right now. Norman says that he doesn't know how it got this bad, and at his most vulnerable, Norman becomes weak, unable to do anything, powerless. Sable says that they need to figure something out before these things take over the entire world. We will then cut back to the main story and Peter's mission to find Harry. Peter will be feeling all the emotions here. It's his best friend that lives inside the monster that consumed him. And with the emotional stakes high, he cannot let that get the better of him this time. He has to bring him in and bring him home. Peter and MJ will go on a few stakeout missions over the course of this part of the game, switching in and out between Miles and Peter respectively. This is where the game really starts to ramp up. We cut back to Miles, Sable and Norman. They are coming up with a plan of action. No one else knows the symbiote like one man does, not even Norman, and that's Dr. Curtis Connors. He is currently in rehab, however, Miles, Norman and Sable go on a mission to find him. Once they find Connors, they bring him on board the team. He's quite reluctant at first and Norman is getting impatient. He lashes out at Connors, saying if he wasn't so focused on that damn arm of his, maybe the symbiote would never have failed in the first place, and they wouldn't be in this mess. Connors is coy, but Sable and Miles tell Norman to back off. They're in this situation and it's useless pointing fingers now. Connors will start to work on a cure. This is where Dr. Connors' arc comes full circle. From being self-centered on trying to cure himself of the nightmare that has haunted him his entire life, to helping the entire city. They will work on the cure while Peter and MJ finally have tracked down Venom. We cut back to Peter. Before Peter confronts Venom, MJ is telling him to be careful and Peter says that he will. He has a plan. Miles is working on a cure for the symbiote at Oscorp that will destroy it. But if they fail, and if all else fails, there is only one thing left he can do. MJ becomes nervy and says don't say what I think you're going to say. And Peter says that if he can't defeat the symbiote, he's going to beg for its return. Not just for the city, but for Harry's sake as well. MJ says he can't do that because once he gets the symbiote again, it might not ever let go of him. Peter says that if there's one person that can stand a fighting chance, it has to be him. And thus we are sprung into the final battle. This battle won't include Miles. This is personal. Peter versus Harry. Venom versus Spider-Man. After a small interaction of Peter trying to convince Harry to break through, once again it doesn't work. Venom is rampant, more vicious than before. He wants to kill Spider-Man. They fight to the death, with Spider-Man getting the upper hand, and then Venom getting the upper hand again. They fight through different locations spreading throughout the city. Venom will unleash armies of symbiotes at you throughout the battle that you have to fend off from. Venom, which now represents the hubris and the darkness that Peter Parker once was, now fights the Peter Parker that we know and love face to face. Everything that he's doing isn't working. Peter can't beat Venom. It's the biggest, fastest, and best match for Spider-Man that he has ever had to go up against. Peter realizes it's time. He falls to his knees, and at the end of the battle, he begs. He says to the symbiote that he's sorry. He's sorry for leaving him, and he realizes now that it was a big mistake. Venom stops in his tracks and says that he's lying, and Peter says that he isn't. Spider-Man extends his hand out and says, "Take me back," recreating the iconic comic panel. The symbiote slowly drips from Harry as it crawls over to its first true love, Spider-Man. As Harry falls to the ground, the symbiote climbs onto Peter and engulfs him. Peter is instantly in a mental battle, fighting it for control. The symbiote knows it made a mistake coming back as it tries to fight for control of Peter's body. MJ approaches the fight as authorities and police start to surround the area as well. MJ runs over to Harry and holds him in her arms. He's unconscious, but breathing. We cut back to Miles, Connors, Sable, and Norman as they're just perfecting the cure. They are almost done. Miles begs that this will work. Connors says that it will. He won't make the same mistake again. The cure is activated and goes across the entire city. We cut back to MJ holding Harry. She looks up to Peter in the distance and shouts his name. Teary-eyed, she places Harry down and runs over to the symbiote-engulfed Peter Parker. She shouts his name again, begging for him to snap out of the symbiote's control. Physically, she can see him struggling. But as the cure swallows the city, and in a tense moment of relief, MJ notices the symbiotes around her and everywhere across New York start to peel back. And in front of her eyes, the symbiote dusts away from Peter's skin, almost like that scene in Miles Morales where his suit peeled back from him. The symbiote, and thus Peter's darkness, is finally gone. Peter breaks down to the floor. MJ picks him up. MJ whispers to herself that Miles did it. Peter looks up with the last of his strength as he sees Harry lying there. They rush over to him, and Peter picks Harry up in his arms. Peter takes off his mask as Harry wakes up to see his two best friends, Peter and MJ, over him. Harry says that he's happy to see them both. As Peter and MJ tear up, they say it's good to see you too. MJ says that it's going to be alright and they're going to get him help. And Harry says no, it's too late for him. Peter says don't say that. Harry looks over at Peter and says he's sorry. He should have been honest with them from the start about all of this. He should have never lied about this to his two best friends. They deserved to know what was wrong with him. Harry looks down at Peter's chest and sees the Spider-Man logo glazed across him. Peter, on the very verge of tears, says it's fine, because there were some things that he should have been honest about as well. Harry smiles as a tear rolls from his eye, as he passes away in Peter and MJ's arms. Peter says his name. No response. He screams his name. MJ places her hand on her mouth and shakes her head to Peter. Peter places his head on Harry's chest, screaming his name again and again and again. We get a final shot zooming out from the three of them. Blue and red flashing lights either side of them from surrounding police sirens, until we fade out to black. We cut to a few months later. The city is on cleanup, and Feast is busier than ever. Miles is volunteering with Rio at the main shelter, and he's doing a very good job as well. Miles goes to the roof and sees Peter sat there. Peter apologizes for everything once again. Miles says it's over now, and that he hopes that's the last of it. Peter agrees. But no matter what, Peter Parker and Miles Morales swear to protect this city from anything and everything, even if it has to be themselves. We fade to a final scene with MJ and Peter at their home in Queens. It's normal. They live like a normal couple as Peter returns home from his first day teacher training. Peter has decided to take up teaching as a new job since his science expertise seemed to get him in trouble wherever he goes, referring back to Dr. Connors and Dr. Otto Octavius. MJ asks how his day went and Peter says it was great. He seems happier than usual. Peter says it wasn't just a great day, there's something else. As he gets down on one knee, Peter Parker asks Mary Jane Watson to marry him, and in a blink of an eye, MJ says yes, as they embrace on a happy ending for our two main characters. And that is it for Marvel Spider-Man 2 Prewrite. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, and also make sure to subscribe for future fanfictions, potentially even a Marvel Spider-Man 3 if you guys would like that. I know I'm not really privy to going past a sequel if it's actually in development. I usually wait for the sequel, then do a Prewrite to the next part, but if it gets requested enough, I may do a Marvel Spider-Man 3, so comment down below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button like I did say, because, you know, we do all types of fanfictions on the channel, and tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Did you like this fanfiction? Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. I want to hear all of your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.